Sonic Boom!
Take it down!
Or 800 Dragon.
Yes! Oh my gosh, we got it!
Okay.
So goodbye, Neos. See you later, alligator. See you, wild crocodile.
Yes! Let's go! Nice!
Shook my head, guys! He shook my head!
Never knees.
Ah, winning against us.
It don't matter what you got, GG.
He's so convinced that it's not life cost zero. Get in there, Spear Bowl, and come off the bench for me. Yes!
I'm about to sound like Team APS, bruh. Haven't you noticed Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't the same as it used to be? Yeah, bro, things change, and it's the same for Duel Links. Duel Links, just like every other form of Yu-Gi-Oh!, has power creep, since it isn't a rotating format. Power creep is the only way to make new products worth getting in a format that doesn't rotate. And even in rotating formats like Standard Magic, you'll still see power creep. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, power creep makes the game faster and more complicated. A lot of fans actually like how complicated the game is, because it rewards you for your knowledge and decision making. Some people don't want to have a complicated game though. They want to be able to relax and jump on and play some duels. You used to be able to do that in Duel Links, since cards were all pretty simple to understand at a quick glance, and all you needed was general dueling skill. Knowledge was a factor, but it wasn't as big of a factor as it is today. Even though I am one of the players that loves the complication of the game, I do feel similarly to the other side. I miss the old Duel Links. I love the modern version of Duel Links, but the old version was something special, and it is sad to me that we'll never be able to play like that again. For years, it's pretty much been that every deck kinda builds itself. You can still build new and exciting versions of things, and Pap's channel is a perfect representation of that. But these are still versions of decks, rather than building decks from scratch. Don't get me wrong here, I'm not talking about net decking, I'm talking about card design. Cards are designed to work alongside each other in themes and archetypes, so of course it would make the most sense to play them together. But there was a time in the past where most cards weren't designed with each other in mind. They were just cards, and you played whatever helped you to achieve what you wanted to achieve. Back in the old days of Duel Links, you could build your deck around a monster type or an attribute or something, using a card or a skill that rewarded you for playing those, and the cards didn't really have to have synergy like that. They just had to all reward you in some way. There was a deck that was totally unaffected by traps because it used Tenkabito, Xian, and Wildheart, which are unaffected by trap, and because of these you could benefit by using traps that would affect both players, but because of their protection, it would only hurt the opponent. There was a deck that used a bunch of water monsters because we had Hammerhead Shark, which could summon a level 3 one from hand, and we had the Umi skill to buff him up. Getting pretty decently sized bodies on board quickly was a good enough advantage at the time. Dinosaurs was a good deck simply because they could get the biggest numbers for just a normal summon, with their field spell that the skill gave you, and that was good enough of a benefit that they could even afford to run a non-dino monster in Surge and Electro just to pin down back row to go for game easier. There were still archetypes playable in the early days of Duel Links like Hazy Flames that could easily flood the board for a beatdown OTK, and they couldn't be targeted, but at this point most of the back row was battle traps anyway, so it was balanced, so decks that weren't archetypal could still fight back against all that aggro. I'll have a bunch of old school Duel Links decks showing on screen now. A lot of these were carried by skills, and a lot of them just used whatever generic skill they preferred. You'll see a healthy mix of themes, archetypes, and gimmicks, a bunch of staples focused on keeping you alive rather than stopping the opponent from their game plan. This way you could always have a way to play around back row by maybe not attacking or changing some of your monsters to defense mode, and games often went long so people could see who would assemble their win condition first or who could find an out to the other guy's back row first. To me, the coolest thing about this time period was the fact that you could really build meme decks, and when I say meme, I'm not talking about some deck that's shit and doesn't work. I mean something with a nearly impossible win condition that is super entertaining if you can pull it off. It is so much harder to make meme decks these days since cards are so often designed to work together. You can't force a lot of these newer cards cards to work together because they have restrictions on them, and it's not like meme decks were always easy to pull off. In fact, the point was that they were hard to pull off, but they are either even more impossible because of how overpowered things are now, or they aren't memes anymore because they added skills to support the meme to make it a viable strategy, so it isn't as exciting to pull off anymore. Back then, since games were longer, you could use Crystal Seer to help you find your combo pieces while also keeping you alive for a turn. You could use Last Gamble to assemble pieces as well, and the game was simple enough that whatever absurd win condition you were going for would most likely win the game right away, with it being balanced by the fact that it was really rare to pull off. But even aside from memes, which made things really entertaining, the game in general allowed for a lot more creativity. Nowadays, you'll see people complaining that people aren't creative anymore. Well, bro, there's only so many ways to build an archetypal deck, since the archetypal deck is made up of cards intended to work together. You'll still see people being creative when they get the opportunity to, finding new ways to play existing strategies, finding new ways to abuse skills or cards, but at the end of the day, everybody being creative will find out through testing what the best way to play something will be, and at that point, the creative process ends because the strategy's already been solved. This happens even in archetypal decks, but the process is a lot faster since the decks are pretty much auto-built out the gate. You play all of the cards that facilitate the deck's goals at the ratios that are most optimal to play them at, and from there, you just tweak until it's at its best performance. Back in the day, we had less archetypes, and with the archetypes we did have, they often still had some weaknesses that needed to be patched up by creative deck building. Like 3-star Demotion Dark Magician could get blown out without a chance of following up since they paid so many life points, so they would mitigate that by playing Supremacy Berry to restore their life points, a card that would have never seen play under any other circumstances. Hazy Flames are all tribute monsters, so people had to figure out a way to summon them quickly, using free special summons or bonus normal summons. Red Eye's only easy way of getting Red Eye's Engrave was with Insight, so they used the zombie package to get Red Eye's Zombie Engrave so both sides could benefit from Red Eye's Spirit. Skills also pretty much never told you how to build your deck back then. They simply gave you a bonus, and you could potentially build your deck around that bonus. A lot of creative combos could be set up with Balance or Last Gamble, and some pretty cool games could be had with the creator skill giving you a super powered card at random, or extra doubling the card you top deck. The most amazing thing to me was that even during the times where power creep was gradually increasing the power of the game, you would still see decks that mainly just normal summoned and set back row, just playing good solid cards to have a solid back and forth game against the opponent. Obviously, not all of these kinds of decks were going to be competitive, but there were always cool things you could do to let these seemingly underpowered decks actually do really well against people spamming the board with Fur Hires. Looking outside of playing the game itself, Duel Link's content creation was also just so different to how it is now. If you're subscribed to any Duel Links creators right now, you'll see most of them showcasing a deck, maybe saying something about how the deck works and showing their replays, and you might have also seen some creators just talking about the game itself. Me personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of this. After all, YouTube is a great resource for keeping up with what's happening in the game. You get to see decks being played and get an idea for how they work and what they do, so you can be better prepared for when you yourself jump into PvP. But back in the day, man, we had Guns, Decade, Yummy Bakura, YT Dan, What 007, Shady Penguin, and all these people seem to have a real focus on being really enjoyable to watch. Their personalities all shine brightly through their content, and I think a lot of their success wasn't necessarily about the gameplay, but about how they themselves were just so funny and engaging. Of course, Decade was focused on the game itself, but even he made sure to have a big focus on the entertainment side of his content. Even to this day, you might shout, "Back to Fortnite!" when you crush somebody online. You might even say "Flame on" when you're about to do a crazy follow-up combo. But all these people moved on to other things that were better for them, and now Duel Links YouTube is a much different place. No shade to any content creators here, I got big respect for you all, but I'm sure that even they miss the old days of Duel Links YouTube like I do. They, like me, were probably inspired by those old creators. I was so excited when Konami announced that they would have Legacy Duels events similar to how they have Turbo Duels events sometimes, because I felt like maybe we would be able to play the old Duel Links again. But then they brought it and implemented a Forbidden Unlimited list that wasn't even similar to old Duel Links, and included a bunch of cards that weren't even in the game in the old days of Duel Links. And with each successive return of the event, they've made it worse and worse by allowing certain modern decks to be played for some reason. Honestly, the most disappointing and horrible decisions I've ever seen for any event. Let's say we were to make community tournaments with only old cards allowed. If we did that, we still wouldn't be able to bring back the old versions of skills. So a lot of the older decks that relied on older versions of skills wouldn't be able to be played, so wouldn't be a true representation of how the game used to be. And besides all that, we still wouldn't get the old ranked experience of a new opponent every duel. You can't just keep playing until you've had enough in a tournament. That old feeling is never going to come back. And to be completely honest with you, I feel this way not just about the first few years of Duel Links, but almost all of the eras of Duel Links. And having to accept that we don't ever get to truly relive our past can be pretty melancholy. But I get a lot of joy just by talking about how things used to be. Whenever the topic comes up, when I'm talking with my friends, we all light up and get super excited talking about our past experiences with the game. And reminiscing is almost just as fun as the game itself. So guys, I want you to leave in the comments some fond memories you have about the game's past, some of your favorite formats, favorite decks, fun memories, so we can all have that experience of enjoying looking at the past. But hey guys, if you like videos like these, be sure to slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified next time we drop a video. Have yourselves a good one guys, and until next time, keep it shady.
Ay, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the Weatherman. I ain't ask them to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.